Welcome to the Innovative Business Podcast. My name is Emily Hunter, and I'm Department Chair of Management here at the Hankamer School of Business. I am honored to be the guest host today of this special edition of the podcast, and I'm joined by Elisabeth Kincaid, who is an attorney and theologian, an affiliate faculty member here in Hankamer. But your primary role at Baylor, I'd love to hear more about as the director of the Institute for Faith and Learning. Tell us about that.
Emily, thanks so much for having me here today. I'm thrilled to be on this podcast, and I'm really excited to get to share about some of the projects that we are dreaming up together between Hankamer and IFL. So the Institute for Faith and Learning is an institute in the provost office at Baylor. It was started in 1997, and some folks don't know this, but at Baylor, all of our faculty and all of our staff are Christian or Jewish. And we believe that when people come to Baylor, when faculty and staff show up here, they don't stop learning. They don't stop growing. They don't stop learning as teachers. They don't stop growing as researchers. And they don't stop growing in their faith. And so at IFL, we are given a really unique opportunity to come alongside faculty and staff and help them explore how their faith informs the way they teach, informs the way they research, informs the way they lead on campus in line with our mission as a top-tier Christian research university. So we have this wonderful opportunity to provide resources to help our amazing faculty, our amazing staff in this integrative project, bringing together their faith with what they get to do here at Baylor.
I love that. And you have been doing great work at Baylor in supporting our faculty and staff and students in integrating our faith. And now you're going to be doing this new project that we're going to talk about today and the ways that you're going to be supporting business practitioners who are interested in integrating their faith into their work. So let's talk more about that. We're very excited that Hankamer is going to be offering executive education courses. These courses are going to be offered in Dallas at our Baylor nursing campus. So we're excited to tap into our Dallas-Fort Worth population, and we're going to be offering courses that are 2 days. So students will have 2 days of engaging with each other, having mealtime for networking, and each of these courses is taught by our amazing top Baylor faculty. So you are going to be joined by our colleague, Matt Quaid. Tell me a little bit more about what you're excited about working with Matt Quaid on this project.
Oh, one of the things that I'm really excited about working with Matt is that we have very complementary skill sets and very complementary research interests. So I feel like, one, I'm going to learn a lot from him, but that we will bring some different perspectives about these questions regarding business ethics and leadership that's going to give the students, I think, a really complete view of how to think about these issues. So I'm trained as a lawyer and a theologian. My specialty is in Christian ethics, and I start primarily as a theologian, as a Christian ethicist, and then come to these questions about business ethics and business leadership. And Matt is trained as someone in the business academy. His focus is more on organizational and behavioral work, and he brings that, and then it's informed by his faith, by his deep knowledge of Scripture. So we're coming from different places and bringing different resources from different fields in a way that I think is going to create a really great dialogue that will bring different perspectives. And I think most folks have heard before in this type of professional education department. So I'm excited about that. It'll also be a very ecumenical approach. Matt and I come from different Christian theological traditions, so we're going to be able to bring the resources of our own traditions and the traditions we've been trained in to stretch our students' concepts of what it means to be a faithful Christian business leader.
How interesting. Okay, so we have this great team of you and Matt who are going to team teach this course. This executive education course is called, and I really want to hear more about the title and what your purpose is. It's called Faithful Work and Loving Labor an exploration of Christian leadership and ethics for Christian business leaders. Tell me more about that, where that title came from, and what is your main purpose of the class?
So, at least for me, the reason that this idea of faithful work and loving labor is really important is because it forces us as Christians to ask the question, what am I doing it and how am I doing it? One of the things that I talk about a lot when I teach business ethics is this idea of good work. What constitutes good work? What constitutes the work God has called us to? And so we have to say, okay, faithful work. What are we producing? What are we doing? How is the product of our work, whatever that is, that goes out into the world, how is that faithful to God's redemptive mission in the world?
Yes.
But it's not just enough to produce something good, to produce something excellent. We also have to do it in the right way. So good work calls us to work, to labor in a way that we imitate Christ. So we are involved in God's redemptive work and what we produce. That's the faithful work. And the loving labor means that we labor, we work in a way that we are imitating Christ in the matter of our working. And if we don't have both components, we're really missing out on something that God has called us to as Christian business leaders. So I love that combination. I will just say, this is not in the title, but one of the things that struck me is the Apostle Paul calls us as Christians. Remember, he says that Christians should embody faith, hope, and love. And so here we have the faith and we have the love, but I think the idea of redemptive Christian business work calls us to hope as well, that we can be instruments of hope in the world, reminding people of God's redemptive action.
Wow, Elisabeth, this sounds like an amazing course. And it's just, let's be frank, something that we don't talk enough about. As Christian business people and Christian business leaders, there's not a lot of opportunities to have a conversation about what that looks like, how we can better honor Christ in the work that we do. So this is such an interesting dialogue. And I think that a lot of people are going to be really fascinated to want to engage in it. So I'm curious, why would you say someone should register for this executive education course? What do you think that they will be able to bring back with them into the workplace and maybe even their personal lives?
I think the reason they should register for it is the same reason I actually ended up leaving the business world and going off to study theology. Not that I think most people should do that, but when I used to work in private equity. And one of the questions I really struggled with was, what does it look like for me to be a faithful Christian in finance? And I knew that it meant, I need to be kind at the office. I knew that it meant, don't break the law. I tried to appropriately share the Gospels with my colleague. I had a friend who told me I could talk about Jesus on the elevator from the third floor to the first floor every time we walked over to the Crescent to get Starbucks.
And that was it? That was the only time?
Yeah. I had to be he was like, if you want to talk to me about this, you got to be very punchy and precise. So that was good. That was good training. But what I didn't get, and what I think, something I've been thinking about for the last 15 years, is what does it mean to pursue excellence in business in a way that honors God? I mean, you and I were talking about this in relationship to Christian teaching, right? Like, is it enough to show up and say a prayer at the beginning of class? I mean, that's good.
It is good.
Is it enough to show up and have a little Bible verse on my desk? Mm-hmm. That's good. But I think God calls us to something more. I think God calls us in business to see our work as acts of worship, as part of his redemptive plan. And it's really hard when you're in the middle of a career and you're trying to raise a family and you're trying to serve in your church, to just have that time to pause, to ask questions, to be with people who share your questions and share your struggles and share your challenges, and to think about how we live into this calling together. And I think part of our goal, and honestly, part of the reason I really like this weekend format, is that it gives people the chance along with me and Matt to explore these questions together and to get a little refresher, a little tune-up, to learn some new ideas, to share with like-minded practitioners, and then to go and bring that back to the office. We don't get this very much in our day-to-day life. And I know people in the Dallas business community, which I was part of for a number of years, don't often have the opportunity for this type of concentrated, rigorous, faithful engagement.
It sounds invigorating to be around like-minded people who are wrestling with these issues, who are trying to be good Christians at work, typically in a secular workplace. And it would be amazing to be around others, to just have those kind of discussions. What do you think is going to be like the format of the course? How much interactivity and engagement will there be with other students along with you and Matt?
I would hope there'll be a lot of engagement, because this isn't about Matt and me standing up and just lecturing. As an ethicist, I think the way we learn ethics and we learn leadership is not just through passively receiving information, but embodied engagement where we explore how to put the concepts that we're talking about into practice. So while there will be content that we provide, a lot of the learning and a lot of the growth is going to come from the experiential engagement where we explore these ideas together. And that's why it's also important, I really think, this weekend includes meals, that it reminds us that God made us as embodied beings and that we learn communally, we learn through participation. So that's very much a part of a Baylor education, and that will be very much a part of this weekend as well.
We're going to break bread together in all of the best sense of the terms. So there's going to be this kind of discussion amongst the other participants. I think you're going to maybe do case studies.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we'll have some case studies. We will have some time for reflection. We will have a lot of learning from each other and listening to each other.
That's great. I think that the hallmark of our Baylor education is this experiential learning, and this executive education course will be no exception. So who would be a good student for this course? Who do you think would benefit the most or would be interested? You know, sometimes we hear the term executive education and we think, oh, that's for executives.
Yes.
Who do you think is a good student in this case?
I think anyone who feels that God is calling him or her to be a leader in a context where something is being produced that's part of God's redemptive work, which I would argue means most people, actually.
Not necessarily having a leadership title or role.
You don't have a leadership. I mean, someone who has a leadership title or role, that's wonderful. But we don't get off the hook as Christians just because we have a leadership title or role. I think, and I mean, you're a management scholar, not me. You know this. I think that leadership looks like different things given different people in different contexts. And so I would encourage anybody who thinks God is calling them to step up in a new way in their work through some form of leadership to attend. I would encourage people who are thinking about making a change in their work to attend, to have an openness to new ideas of what God might be calling them to. I would encourage somebody who is looking for a new challenge, who feels bored or tired or jaded to attend. Really, the only people I would encourage not to attend are people who don't think. Actually, no, I'd encourage these people to attend too. If you think your work doesn't matter to God, you absolutely need to attend.
I love that. That sounds wonderful. So really, it's a broad audience. We're really hoping for a group of students that can inspire and encourage each other from across disciplines and across experience levels in the workplace.
Yes.
Because that's just going to really provide great discussion.
Yes, 100%. And I will say, I mean, this is going to be faith informed. It is based on our shared commitments. It's not going to be a Bible study.
Yeah, great point.
I think, I mean, it is a executive education class.
Excellent. Wonderful. That's so helpful. Elizabeth, as we're wrapping up, I would love to just hear more about other projects that you bring to the table in terms of this space. And I hear you have a new book you're working on.
I do. I'm really excited about it. I need to, work on it more, as is always the case with academic projects. So, in teaching business ethics, I've been really drawn to a resource called Catholic Social Thought, which are a series of reflections over the last, 150 years at this point, produced by various popes, by various bodies within the Catholic Church that have a systemic reflection on what are the challenges to Christians and to people of goodwill in various iterations of various economic orders. And these series of reflections look at scripture, they look at different writings of wise Christian leaders, they look at economics, they look at business theory, and I just find them an incredibly compelling resource because it's the same problems that we deal with in our own life, but looking at these problems from this historical perspective, from this global perspective, I think brings new insights. And, it's an exciting time in the Catholic Church. There is a new pope, an American pope for the first time, Pope Leo XIV.
Very exciting.
And his predecessor, who shared the same name, Pope Leo XIII, was actually the first pope to really engage with these contemporary questions in response to Marxism. And Pope Leo XIV has called us to engage with these same questions and responses to challenges from AI and technology. And so it's a great opportunity to pause, to look at these resources, say, how can these insights from the last 150 years, grounded in scripture, grounded in great Christians' ideas and principles, inform business practice today? And the fact that there is a pope with the same name asking these questions in relationship to the challenges of AI, I think makes it even more relevant. So that's been a fun project for me to work on at Baylor. One of our focuses is actually AI and how that relates to the Christian tradition. And this is very relevant in the challenges of the current workplace. So it's fun to be engaging from those perspectives with this type of teaching. This type of
Sounds
research.
incredible. We're very excited about your new work, about all that you bring to Baylor and to the Hankamer School of Business. So thankful, Elizabeth, that you're coming alongside us to teach this new executive education course. We're really excited for what you and Matt will bring. We're excited for what students will learn and how they will grow in their calling from God through this course. So thank you so much for being with us. I would just encourage anyone who's interested in learning more about our executive education courses at Hankamer to see our executive education page, our website for more details. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Emily.
Thank you for listening to the Innovative Business Podcast. You can check out more episodes of Innovative Business at hankamer.baylor.edu/podcast. You can also find Innovative Business on your favorite podcast apps. And if you'd like to learn even more about research and alumni stories from the Hankamer School of Business, visit bbr.baylor.edu.